What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wednesday Live of Lombardi Time Brews, where we're going to be chatting all things Packers just a few days before training camp finally, mercifully begins on Monday. And yeah, that's right. This is when I begin my appeal to you people out there. If you want anything, just like I did last year, like I'm going to be going live after every training camp practice that I can get to, which is basically all of them. So if there's anything out there that you want me to look for, just drop it in the comments. I'll make a note, and every single day I'll try to get back to you on what I saw from that player, that position, whatever, on that given day. So, welcome. My name is Jon Delray. This is Claudia, partner in pod, partner in life. Do hope you wonderful people out there are doing well. Captain Kebbles, what's up?
Ooh, we're here. Partner says, hey, we're driving back to the East Coast.
Well, hello, Captain and partner. Janelle, hello.
Hello, Janelle.
Hello. So, just a few bits of news before we really get rolling here today. One, you may see some headlines. I've seen some confusion out there about this. Donovan Jennings, the rather lucrative UDFA signing from the Packers after the draft, the offensive lineman. He was drafted today in the UFL, United Football League. He was drafted, I think he was like a third-round pick. Basically, okay, here's what to know about that, because I saw some concern about, like, well, is he not actually going to come to training camp at the Packers then? No, the way that the UFL draft works is they essentially can pick players who weren't drafted in the NFL and basically just kind of hold on to their rights in the event that Donovan Jennings doesn't make the Packers 53. Then Jennings has the choice between, like, do I want the practice squad route or do I want to go play for the UFL? So it's not that he's off the Packers roster now. He can choose to, but it's not that he's not. It's just kind of like an insurance almost for him that if he doesn't make the 53, he's got a backup plan. And for the UFL team, it's try to get an NFL type talent on the cheap. So that's basically what's going on there. Peter! Bonjour, Peter. All right, other news. The Packers financials was released yesterday. The Packers officially dropped their balance sheet detailing just how wealthy they all are. Basically, they got $400 million from the NFL as part of the revenue sharing program. They still profited last year as a business entity, over $60 million in profits last year, down roughly 10% from the year prior. Still, Mark Murphy was quoted as saying, it was an incredibly good year for business. Yeah, no kidding. Then he did say that part of the reason why their profits were down was because they did have some large expenditures, especially in the way of paying former guys lump payments who no longer work for the team. Now, he didn't name them, but of course, like David Bakhtiari comes to mind, Aaron Rodgers, etc. Like, Packers have written some awfully large checks, and Devondre Campbell, and that doesn't help the balance sheet in that regard. Also worth noting, last year, the corporate reserve was at about $450 million. This year, it now sits at about 536, I believe is the exact number, for sure over $500 million. The corporate reserve fund, if you're unfamiliar, is basically the Packers' rainy day fund. It's how they continue to buy up all of the property of Ashwaubenon. It's how they can afford massive signing bonuses. It's how they renovate Lambeau Field when it needs to be done. It also is just their emergency fund. If something does happen to the business or something shuts down the NFL for a while, it's how they continue to survive as that corporate reserve fund. It is staggeringly healthy now at over $500 million just kind of hanging out there, and something that is eventually going to be in Ed Policy's hands. Also worth noting, that corporate reserve fund probably going to take a little bit of a hit real soon because of the dude you see on the screen right now. Yeah, it's Jordan Love. Contract extension incoming. No doubt about it. Just the other day, I believe it was yesterday, he was doing his football camp in Wisconsin, and reporters were told, and this has been a major brouhaha on the Packer interwebs thus far as to like whether the reporter was inappropriate or whatever. I'll get into that in a second. But the reporter, they were all told at this football camp, Jordan is not going to answer any questions about a potential contract extension. If any of you people ask, he's just going to say no, and we're going to end the interview. Well, the interview was only about 3 minutes long in the first place. So as a last-ditch effort, this reporter, as the interview was coming to an end, decided to try it and see what happens. And this is what was happened when she asked about the contract extension.
Brian Gutekunst says he hopes to have a contract extension done with you before the start of camp. Do you wish the same?
Sorry, nope. All right. News go. Sorry.
News
Sorry,
go.
nope. That's it.
All right.
Sorry,
Thank you guys.
Yeah, okay. So basically, like, basically, they're Jordan's agents as well as Packers PR basically have a gag order on the
Right.
franchise quarterback at
Nope,
this
nope,
point.
nope, nope, nope,
Yeah,
nope, nope.
like it was. They didn't even give Jordan the option to shut it down himself. They were all over that. And I gotta be honest, think about this. Like, why would a multi-billion-dollar business put out a gag order like that? Because business is real close, right? Like, for months, they've allowed Jordan to make all these public appearances and say, like, yeah, it's a work in progress. Of course, I want to get it done, etc., etc. Now we're at this point, and all of a sudden it's, all right, everybody shut up. And you do that in final stages of a deal, right? So, yeah, I've been saying it for a while, like, since it didn't get done in May, like, it just kind of feels like the Packers are going to use this to kick off training camp. Now, according to Bill Huber, the deal is not done already, or at least it wasn't as of yesterday. Doesn't mean it didn't get completed today. It doesn't mean it's not getting signed tomorrow. I really think that this is going to be like the thing that starts off training camp for Green Bay. There'll be some large announcement, maybe even Sunday night, and the franchise QB is going to be locked in. So, Peter, what you got?
Do you believe in Devontae Adams' upcoming trade to the Jets?
I mean, yes and no. Like, there's a lot of moving pieces there, right? And ultimately, like, the Raiders do hold the leverage, for sure. I did see that Devontae talked on Shannon Sharp's podcast about, like, well, if I'm going to reunite with anybody, it's going to be Aaron. Yeah, not shocking. The Derek Carr thing didn't go super well, so not surprising. I don't know. It's possible. Just before I hopped on live, I checked news one more time, and now there's this rumor out there that Devontae might get traded to the 49ers because the Raiders would like Ayuk to come to them. So we're just going to see a wide receiver swap, in which case, disgusting if Devontae goes to the Niners. But ultimately, who knows? I don't know. I still want the best for Devontae. I hope he does well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he moved somewhere just because he wanted to be with Carr.
Well, yeah.
That was one of the big reasons of him moving.
It was, but also for Devontae, it was also to go home. Like, his childhood team was the Raiders. He talked about when he first got to suit up for the Raiders that his grandma finally got to see him play in an NFL game because she can't travel.
Thing for him.
Like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of all this.
Brandy's saying Elton Jenkins' contract was a great deal and continues to be. I think this was a low-key Russ Ball ninja move.
For sure. Now we see like Quinn Meinertz of the Denver Broncos. He just got paid $20 million a year. Like, the dude who's notorious for hanging his belly out at practice is getting paid $20 million a year. Elton making about $17 million on an average annual valuation. So, absolutely, you're spot on, Brandy, as usual. Like, what a great move that Russ Ball orchestrated there. And I will say, too, it speaks to the potential value of a Jordan Morgan. Like, we talked at draft season about how if the Packers were to pick a guard in round one, granted, Morgan's not, he can do both, but still, if the Packers were to have picked a guard in round one, it's because the guard market is going through the roof, and all of a sudden it's becoming a premium position where it hasn't been really for the last like 8 to 12 years. So it just continued proof of guards ascending and Elton Jenkins being a bargain in that regard. I'll say this too, as it relates to the Packers. Zach Tom, gonna get paid. He's gonna get so much in a couple years for sure.
Steve saying the Raiders are not trading Devontae Adams. And hi, Jon and Claudia.
Hi, Steve.
Hope you both have been doing well.
Thank
we
you,
hope
Steve.
The same
yes.
you.
By the way, I'm going to throw it out there. I got to apologize. I put a post out on the YouTube channel last night. Monday, upending things, going to a doctor's appointment, and then I really thought I was going to feel good enough. I was going to have enough time, and then the day just didn't happen. So we are going to see doing live right now. Tomorrow episode, Friday episode. Then next week, camp. By the way, also, reminder, like I said at the top, if you want me to look into something every single day at training camp, put it in the comments. I'll write it down. I got you. Just like last year.
Janelle saying, I rewatched the Packers 96 season. Fritz Shermer had an attack-style defense. I hope Hafley has a similar style defense.
In terms of aggressiveness, it should be. If not, even propelling a little bit farther in the aggressiveness department than what Shermer did. Yeah, like Shermer certainly had a number of blitz packages, right? Like, definitely. Hafley's, I would tilt, just philosophically speaking, farther. Like, even like a Wink Martindale-esque of just like, send everybody whenever we want to. So I think we are going to see that brand of defense return. And like I've been saying, if that doesn't work, then we really got to look at how the Packers front office evaluates personnel on the defensive side and say this just straight up isn't working.
Steve's saying, I swear I'm renaming my name to I can't type.
We got to. We'll always work to translate
Right?
it, Steve.
I do my best. Kevin Kevel saying, stopped at a park. Wind is so crazy here. My phone went for a ride, and the dog is a flying off.
Duck and cover, Captain Kevels. That's not good.
Steve saying, Brenton Cox Jr., I hear, is going to get playing time this year. I'm so excited to see his physical gameplay this year.
It's possible. The one thing that I would say in regards to Brenton Cox Jr., though, is like, yes, at times, I do think we will see 3 edge rushers, defensive ends, whatever nomenclature, on the field simultaneously. Kick Rashawn Gary into a modified D tackle when it's an all-out pass rush down, right? In theory, you absolutely could roll out a D line of Preston, Clark, Rashawn, and LVN. You absolutely could on passing downs, right? Or like big nickel type situations. But in terms of Brenton Cox Jr.'s playing time, will it be elevated over last year? Yeah, probably, almost by default. But at the same time, I think he is still going to find himself very much in the edge 5 conversation, unless he really propels himself up the rankings. Because they do have Rashawn, Preston, who isn't going anywhere, LVN, who is due to get more time than he got last year, and then they got Kingsley Enagbare, the miracle man himself, who's healthy. And Enagbare, along with Preston Smith, are the stronger, again, LVN's in there too, but the strong of like their run defense unit. So where does Brenton Cox Jr. really fit in? As the depth piece behind all of them. So playing time without injury may still be a bit sparing for him, unless, of course, he's able to capitalize on his athleticism, and we see a lot of plays made in camp, but he's going to have to upend Enagbare to do that, and that is a tall order.
Peter saying, trading Ayuk away, then trading for Adams would make a lot of sense, I'm afraid.
I'm inclined to agree, and I don't like it. Yeah, that would be disgusting.
Kevin Kevel saying, when does dropping Kenny Clark
No.
into coverage start? You've seen that BC game tape, you'll get it.
I haven't, but I don't want to. I'm just getting shades of like BJ Raji dropping back in his own coverage back in the day. No, we're done with that. We're supposedly done. And I don't want it. Unless he's able to get a pick and rumble into the end zone like BJ, then I'm all about it. Speaking of which, like, I know we don't talk about former Packers often on the show, but BJ Raji, I know others talk about it, but that dude's disappeared. Like, he's just gone. And it's fascinating. All right, so that's all the news, and we're all caught up on the comments. Anybody else got anything? Jump on in real quick, or else today might be a little bit of quicker show. Yeah, and like I said earlier, drop in the comments what you want me to look for, because I'll be there with notebooks in tow and pens. So many pens. I need 6 in my backpack. So I got you. I'll look for everything you want me to.
Oh, yes. Steve saying, since training camp is starting, Claudia, you should make the team bacon and grilled cheese sandwiches. It would be a great start. I mean, if I was there, sure. I wonder who would actually take one.
Most.
Really? You think so?
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, yeah.
I remember one time we went to at the Green Bay Distillery, the radio show that they have during the season. It was when Kenny Clark was there.
Yep.
And I remember somebody brought him a big Tupperware of cookies.
Yes.
And I don't think I've seen that man happier. It was so funny.
So true.
And it was like, this is so Wisconsin of like, one, somebody bringing a Tupperware of cookies, but then also the player taking them and just being like a jolly giant up there.
I mean, it's so true. And like, it harkens back to the day, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I love Green Bay, right? And the culture around the players. But it harkens back to the day. I remember, I think it was Ken Burns' baseball documentary years ago that talked about how there was one particular stadium when it first started, I think it was Cincinnati, where the players to get onto the field had to come through center field, like through the stands in center field. And all of the season ticket holders that were right by that tunnel got to know the players so well that they would bake them birthday cakes. Then the players would have to like jog onto the field with these cakes and then go put them in the dugout. I just love that kind of thing.
Brandy Lewis asking, better moves after a great play, BJ Raji or Gilbert Brown? Janelle
I mean, so
is
different.
saying
So different.
Gilbert with the dagger.
I know, his Gravedigger move, but like
Gravedigger.
they're just so different, right? Like, because the Gravedigger had some power to it, right? Especially after he brought down somebody. But I'm not sure you can beat Raji's jiggle,
Raji.
like whatever you want to call it. It was
was the
fantastic.
Raji.
Yeah, it was the
That's
Raji.
what I was scoffed.
Oh man, what do I got to say is better? Oh,
As
I
a
don't know.
celebration,
As a,
Raji. As an
Yeah.
intimidation, I got you.
yeah, all right, that's fair. Intimidation
Gilbert.
factor, Gilbert. Just pure fun. I gotta go with BJ. Yeah, man moved his body. I'm down with it.
Peter's saying, I love to hear love stating Wicks is
Yep.
going to have a monster year.
Yes, he did. And I'll also point out that Jordan Love, on a recent appearance, I think it was with Bleacher Report, was asked to sketch out his perfect play.
That's right.
With his dream lineup around him, right? So he listed like Tyreek Hill was one of the wide receivers, but one of the three that he put on there for wide receiver happened to be Romeo Dobbs. Like, the chemistry between those two is off the charts. Both men of not many words. So like that was really cool to see. And him saying yesterday that Wicks is going to have a monstrous year. Again, though, I'll continue to point out that the one dude that isn't being talked about from the Packers side of things, but is being talked about by Chad Ochocinco and others, Jaden Reed. It's really interesting to notice.
That is one thing that I'm really looking forward to this year is the wide receiver unit. And
Oh, for
really,
sure.
because I mean, we have so many options, which is
Yeah.
such a refreshing thing to have. And we saw it last year, but we had to wait so long
Yeah.
for them to really click. So I'm excited to see this year and see the chemistry between them and see how, when you have so many options, who's gonna shine in which areas.
For sure. And it was Peter Bukowski who actually put out on Twitter earlier. I know feelings are are mixed, but like still. He made an incredibly valid point, saying that the offense last year was greater than the individual parts were. You could not always say that about the Packers offense because it used to be like Rodgers, Devontae, and question marks, right? But now it's about the collective. The fact that you see all of these offseason lists from PFF, from Gridiron Gang, all these different lists, right? That list like the top 30 receivers in the NFL. And there's not a single Packer on it. And yet they had a top 5 passing offense. Well, how do you have a top 5 passing offense with no good or great wide receivers? Because the collective is so tremendous. And that's what's really talked about when you see all these conversations about, well, do the Packers need a number one? Well, philosophically, no, not really. As long as, and this is the caveat that I think has to be thrown on there, and maybe talking about it tomorrow, as long as you've got a guy that when the game is on the line and it's 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or 3rd and goal, you just have to have it. Just like Devontae used to be back in the day. You have to have it. As long as you got that guy, then you can go with no number one. Then you can be stronger. So, yeah, awesome.
Kevin Kevel is saying underwear Olympic champ Darling will be.
It's a really good question. On the rookie side of things, let's give it to Edrin Cooper, because not that he's a bad tackler or anything like that, but before we really ramp it up to without pads, we're going to be able to see his range. We're going to see his outright speed, being able to go sideline to sideline. And that is going to make a lot of people go, oh, that's exciting. We haven't had that. So let's go with that. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, I suppose I got to go with, well, that's kind of tough to see. Yeah, I guess so. I hate that answer, though. I don't love it, but like I go with Marshawn Lloyd, just because to see little muscle hamster work is going to be a lot of fun. So I guess I got to go in that way.
Hello, my father has a McKinney jersey and thinks he is a future Hall of Fame safety.
Yeah.
He wants to know how he can get the jersey signed
Oh,
by
yes,
McKinney.
yes.
You just go to practice and pray?
Love this question. I got a memorabilia question. More people give me memorabilia questions. I know this stuff. All right. So, first of all, you can go to training camp. Yes. The best spots that I've seen historically for autographs at training camp is as the players, obviously they ride the bikes, right? as they get off of the bike. So they bike down the street, right? Then they hop off their bike to get onto the practice field. Some guys, when they hop off the bike, will then sign. McKinney being a newer player, I would anticipate that he will do some bike riding this year. Not every practice, though, because eventually the really good vets get sick of it and then they ride in a car. So right there. But an even better spot, honestly, is after practice when they begin to go back. I've seen more players more likely to do that. Now, the like you want him for a signing guaranteed, wait for a private signing or public signing announcement. As far as I understand, McKinney does not have an exclusive contract, which means any number of shops, any number of businesses could have him in for a signing. Wait for one of those, send in the jersey, get it signed. That way you're also ensuring that the signature is not going to be this like rushed, like it's on some little kid's shoulder type deal. It'll actually be prepped, ready to go. So that would be my top recommendation for that. And I've really considered, like, this season, I'm probably going to be talking and updating on the pod. Whenever I hear about any signing going on, I might just include that in the pod from here on out. So be on the lookout for that. I mean, hopefully that helps.
Steve saying, John, did I miss your 53-man prediction day?
Maybe. I put one out a couple weeks ago. So take a look back for that, Steve. It was probably like 2 weeks ago. It was like right before I took that week off around the 4th. So something like that. And then I'm going to do one again. Might do 2, depending on how training camp goes. Talking about 53. For sure I'll do one like as training camp is done. Might do one depending on how the schedule goes. Like if a bunch of training camp practices are canceled because of rain, maybe I'll put one out then as a filler as well. But yeah, check out the one from a couple weeks ago, Steve.
What is the over-under on Love?
I really think he can do it this year. Let's go with, let's go 40 touchdowns. I really like that 12 interception number for him. So let's go 40 touchdowns, 12 picks, with, I don't think he's going to go over the top with yards. So let's go like 4,300 yards. 40, 12, 43. Book it. Except don't put money on it because I'm not very good at that.
Steve asking if he also missed a practice squad prediction.
Oh, I didn't lump in practice squad with that. Practice squad predictions for sure will be on like the end of training camp one once I actually get to see these guys play for sure.
Peter saying, as for me, I feel like Javon Bullard's going to have a monster rookie year.
There are going to be some lapses in his coverage that I do think we all need to prepare for. Like his aggressive style in Hafley's aggressive defense, a rook is going to be out of place sometimes. It's just going to happen. But whether they utilize him as the stand-up safety next to McKinney, or when they switch to dime, put him as that second big kind of slot corner and then play like an Williams back there at safety, whatever they decide to do personnel-wise, Bullard's impact will be felt. I'm very confident in that, Peter. I agree.
Kevin Kevel saying every team was a surplus of guys. Then people will say Green Bay not having a wide receiver one is a negative, which is amusing to me.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. It's also like the common thing of like fans from other teams want to say how the Packers offense sucks, even though it really didn't at all last year and it was a top 5 offense. But like, how can you say that both the wide receivers and Love aren't good and then have a top 5 offense? There seems to be some logic gaps there, and I see it online all the time.
Denial.
Yes. That's how that's done. Yes.
Steve saying, what are your thoughts on Pratt? Second string or practice squad?
You know, I won't be shocked at all this year, Steve, if this is the year that they actually have 3 QBs on the 53. Last time I did my prediction, I kept it at 2. I know Huber did the same. Lots of other beat reporters did the same. But like, I won't be shocked at all if this is the year that they keep 3. I don't think they want to get rid of Clifford at all. I think they really like Clifford, even beyond the on-field stuff. I talk about that a lot. His intangibles, his QB2. It makes a lot of sense. They want to keep him around. But yet Pratt may prove to be the better thrower of the football, in which case you want to keep that around too. The one thing that I don't really see happening unless Clifford becomes an all-out dumpster fire would be Pratt becoming number 2 this year. that I just think Clifford's too far ahead in knowing the offense, improving what he's been able to do, in how much they like the way that he kind of assimilates with Jordan and the way that they talk about the offense in the quarterback room. I think they just like Clifford too much for all that stuff. So Pratt has a chance to stick on the 53 as the number 3 or practice squad. I just don't see him taking over number 2 unless Clifford really bombs out like he did in that one OTA practice.
Saying thank you very much for this valuable
course.
information. I appreciate it.
Of course. I will say it's Game Day Sports. It's actually a company based out of Texas. They happen to do a lot of Green Bay signings. I've actually worked with the guy before. They're doing a signing upcoming with Edgerrin Cooper. So if anyone's interested in that, just take a look on Facebook for the details. Feel free to comment, message. I'll dig up the details for you. If anybody's interested, I'll help you out.
We have a couple saying, what memorabilia item did you wish had grabbed in hindsight? This is such a good one for you. Mine is a signed AR-12 jersey of the new home alternates he wore versus Washington. We'll be passing by the place. They had it later tomorrow. Oh, that's just sad.
Right, a little twist of the knife there. I gotta say, to keep it in the Rogers department, one thing that I've always thought was incredibly cool is such a picture in time. Not that I'm a wrestling fan really personally, but right when he was doing all the discount double checks and everything, there was this wave after the Super Bowl of him signing championship belts. And that's just freaking cool. Like, that's just such a unique thing. Wish I would have nabbed one of those, but like, I was a broke college student. There was no prayer in hell I wasn't going to get one of those at the time. So that absolutely goes on that category. The other thing that I would say is a replica trophy. Very, very hard to get now. Very expensive to get a replica trophy of each of one of the Super Bowls signed by each quarterback. Very tough to get. I had a Bart Starr on one last year and then I had to sell it. But yeah, that would be a special collection for sure.
Kevin Keppel's also saying, wide receiver 1 arguments to me just smells of fantasy brain rot, but that's just me.
Yeah, to an extent.
Wrong,
To an extent. As long as they have a top 5 offense, who cares? Right. And then the one caveat I added earlier, as long as you've got that guy that you can go to when the game is on the line, then I suppose they're your de facto number 1, but who really cares about the title? Right. You just got to have that guy.
Chris Hand saying, hey John, hey Claudia, hey Chris. Nothing Packer realized, but how about a joke? Why did the cow wear bells? Because it lost its horn.
Oh my God.
Go back, go.
Go back, go, Chris. Nice to see you again, man. By the way, who else is excited for watch parties? I know we're not going to do any for the preseason, but man, I'm excited to get back into it. Excited for everybody to come on back here, because some watch party enthusiasts I haven't seen in quite a while. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, come on back. I'm excited.
Off-season, so.
Right.
Kevin Keppel saying, it's kind of funny how many people think Green Bay taking Pratt is a correction after drafting Clifford. Like, nope. Green Bay just different like that.
I think it's just a matter of, like, they choose quarterbacks that they like, and they really liked Clifford. And then when Pratt fell to them in the 7th, remember, they could have taken Pratt in the 6th and the 5th and the 4th and the 3rd when he was originally talked about as being a 3rd. They didn't want to. I think it just hit this point in the 7th where it's like, he's still there. Well, we got Clifford. We got Love. But, like, he's still there? Sure. Let's add him. Let's battle it out. It's a 7th round pick. Let's do it.
We're also just a quarterback factory.
Well, yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. Plus, Gutekunst has said that he wants to get back to the era of Aaron Brooks, Mark Brunell, the thing that we saw in the 90s and early 2000s of the Packers taking a quarterback every year and then recycling it for future draft assets after they develop. Why not use your developmental streak to prosper and get picks for it? You know, like a Matt Flynn, all those guys. It worked for so long, and then we abandoned it when we had all these holes to plug on the roster because of inferior drafting from the final Ted Thompson years. To get back to that would be a boon for the future Packers. So it makes all the sense in the world.
Got Chad saying, what position battle are you looking forward to the most? And what specific player battles are you looking forward to the most? Hope you two are doing good, by the way.
Thanks, Chad. Position battle that I'm looking forward to the most, like the number one that I'm looking forward to the most is watching Eric Stokes versus Carrington Valentine. Assuming Stokes is healthy, I don't think the Packers can really go wrong here. It's like, and plus too, I mean, cornerback is such a flexible position. If they choose week 1 starter and it just doesn't work, they're going to go to the other one for week 2. And that's fine. But I'm really excited to watch those two go at it. Like, two very good man corners, Two guys that are both very fast, very aggressive. Valentine, especially in covering receivers. Going to be a lot of fun to watch rep for rep, those two swap in and out, and then watch how the coverages change around each one of them. Really, really looking forward to that one evolve.
Janelle saying, I'm excited for the watch parties. Should we have a training camp get together for one of the practices?
I am not opposed. If I know enough people are going to actually like be in the area and not like two, then yeah, I would totally be down for that. So if people are going to be in the area, let me know. If there's enough people, I'll definitely put something together.
Kevin Kill saying, I think Green Bay drafts quarterbacks to keep the coaching lessons learned of how to coach them up from when they do one day need to get a new quarterback one in 15 years. Better to remember those skills than be like the Bears.
Well, which never had skills in the first place. The other thing, I just want to go back to Janelle's thing too. By the way, can you go grab the hat? Thank you. It's sitting right over there. At training camp, again, going to be there for like 99% of the practices. I think I'm going to have to duck out on like 2 of them. But if you happen to see me, please, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, stop by, say hi. I'd love to meet you in person. I'll be there. Chances are I'm gonna try every day to be in the crow's nest, which is the standing area in the very middle. Stop by, say hi. I'd be happy to meet you. Oh, and by the way, I'm borrowing this from my dad because I don't do so well in the sun. I'll be in this hat every day, so I'll be there looking like a Mortal Kombat character. Feel free to stop by.
On a safari or something.
Right? Yeah, I'll be the one with like 8 notebooks and a whole crap load of pens keeping notes. So stop by, say hi. I'd love to meet everybody.
So you're saying, what are the Eagles and Packers going to wear since they're not allowed to wear green in Brazil? I don't think they're not allowed to. I think that's just superstition.
There are so many rumors about that. It is based upon more than superstition. It is based upon the fact that for that team's home stadium, that is like a rule that they won't wear green. Okay, it doesn't have anything to do with gangs or anything like that. It's two rival teams. I can't say for sure what they're going to wear, but I have heard from good sourcing in both from good sourcing in both the NFL side of things and the memorabilia side of things, the Packers are proposing a white helmet. That would lead me to believe that week 1 very well could be what we know as their traditional all-white color rushes with a white modified helmet. Now, I would just be down for like the Packers in their all whites versus the Eagles in their all blacks. That would make an awesome week 1 uniform matchup. So that's possible, Steve. We may see it.
Chad saying, here's a corny one for you. What kind of exercises do lazy people do? Diddly squats.
I'm an expert at those. Commando.
Gotta catch those training camp streams.
Absolutely. Basically the way this is going to work is I'm going to go to practice. Okay. I'm going to sit there, I'm going to take all my notes, report on everything that everybody asked me to do, right? And then I'm going to get into my car. Kia Niro sounds like a spaceship, so you're going to see me around in that. And then I'm going to go find some spot, maybe by like Titletown, which I went to a bunch last year. Maybe Lambeau Field itself. I don't know, because they got pretty decent Wi-Fi most days. Or I'll just go find a park and use a hotspot, whatever. But then as I find a spot that is relatively secluded, I'm just going to hit live on YouTube and report as quick as I can go find a spot, report everything back to you about what you want to hear about from training camp. So yeah, please turn the notifications on. I'm going to be there. I love training camp. I love talking to you guys about it. So please check it out.
Kevin McCavel saying the immortal battle of my pale chalk skin versus the sun is going to make training camp next year interesting. That's why you get one of these.
Man, like, so just like, y'all know I went to the doctor on Monday, right? Like I do have a number of medical issues that maybe I'll open up about someday. But like one of them is they think I'm allergic to the sun. So what am I going to do 5 days a week for the month of August?
Sit in the sun.
Go stand on metal bleachers in the middle of Green Bay where there's no shade.
2 hours.
Like last year, it's that regard, and I'm not looking forward to it that way.
Steve, the run game will be used more this year, yes or no? Or
I don't think it'll be used more necessarily. I do think it will be used differently though. Like I've talked about in other episodes, I think they want to run more gap as opposed to zone. I think LaFleur is already trending that way. I think they lean into it more this year with the addition of Jacobs and the loss of Jones. I think, I don't think we're going to see this drastic uptick in the percentages of runs ran, but I do think usage is going to be different. We might also see, because Green Bay was in the top 7 off the top of my head, I think it was, in terms of passing on the goal line. They were one of the top 7 teams in the NFL of passing the most there. We may see them drop a little bit in that regard now with Jacobs, Lloyd, and Dillon as the projected 3-man running back committee. That maybe we see more runs there. So, yeah, I think maybe a balancing out in that regard. But I don't think they're just overall going to run it more and more.
Kevin Kevel says, since you're not allowed to film practice, how do they enforce that? They probably going to have someone follow Big B around.
Oh, Big B, man.
Or
yeah,
they're also going to be
#1.
like, their security for their press area is
Yeah.
going to be even more, since that one guy faked a press, like,
Yeah, that was
placard.
that was a thing last year. And the thing that gets me about that is because, like, I'm not credentialed. I don't have any media passes or anything like that. Hope to someday, but, like, I don't. Doing that kind of crap makes it harder. So stop it to those people. But
yeah, especially it totally, like, for all the influencer, content creator, whatever the heck's,
Yeah.
like, the Packers are already very, very guarded about who they give a press pass. You have
Yeah,
to
they are.
be affiliated with a radio show, TV, like,
generally, yep.
and so then it just does a disservice to everybody who's trying to make
Yeah.
good quality content and be ethical and everything that somebody who's affiliated with an actual establishment is. It's just,
And that is
it's
one
just
thing that I try
frustrating.
really hard to do, especially at training camp, is be ethical about, like, what they ask us to do. I try to follow it. That's why you're not going to see from me, like, a world of leaked film clips, because they ask us not to. And, like, I attempt to follow that. I don't know. I'm a rule follower in that way, I guess. But so how do they enforce it? Okay, so here's what they do. They basically have all the red vest workers stand at the front row, and as practice is beginning, they turn around and go, no film photography. There is no filming of practice, whatever. Now, if you are a podcaster or something like that, and you get yourself in pretty decently with the red vest, you're going to find out that eventually they don't really care if you film stuff like positional drills, stuff like that. What they really care about is whether you film the plays. Don't film the plays. That's a big no-no. And if they know it's you, they'll boot you out. Okay. But that's basically how it's enforced. They turn around and they go, don't do it. And then if they see phones and stuff like that, then they question it. But they can't really do a lot, right? Okay. I don't know. Like, I know Big B. I love seeing Big B whenever we run into each other. I just wish people would just follow the rules. This is my personal thing.
Kevin Kimball's also saying, my partner's allergic to water, so the cycle
Man, that
is
must
complete,
be
I guess.
awful. That must be truly awful.
Right?
My heart
Like-
goes out to him on that one.
Steve, would you want Bakhtiari back? Be honest. Yes, I know they are only rumors. If he's healthy and reliable.
Yeah, no. I think that ship has sailed.
Well,
Before they drafted Jordan Morgan, I'd be like, I could entertain it, especially if it's like on an injury basis or whatever. But now with Jordan Morgan, like, it's almost like the conversation about, like, having Devontae back.
Mhm.
Would he make things better in some ways? Yeah, we give you a true, like, bona fide alpha #1, whatever. Like, no team's saying no to Devontae Adams. But at the same time, that ship has sailed. We've moved on. Look at our wide receivers now. We're fine. And it's kind of the same thing with tackle. Rasheed Walker, with the way that he closed out the year, was tremendous last year. Zach Tom, so good, right? Jordan Morgan now being added in, his first chance at tackle. So, like, they've moved on from a roster construction standpoint. And it's kind of hard to blame them given how it all went down with Bach. So I can't see that one really happening. All right, everybody, it is time for us to jump on out of here. Thank you for joining us. Remember, if you're catching this after, drop in the comments what you want me to look for at training camp. I will be happy to mark it down every day and report back to you about what it is I'm seeing. Even if you can't make the live streams after camp, let me know. I'll report on it anyway. So drop it in the comments. Be on the lookout tomorrow for reasons why the Packers won't win the Super Bowl or why they may fall short. And then Friday, to propel us into training camp, why they're gonna win it all. I'm down with it. So, all right, everybody, time for us to jump on out of here. Do hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. And as always, go Pack, go.